Okay, so have you ever felt like there's so much to do but no time to do it? And you have big goals, you want to do so much, but with all the work responsibilities, the family, the kids, and all the stuff, you kind of just talk yourself out of even taking action on it because what's the use? I don't have any time, right? And I've been spending the last several weeks addressing this topic of time, which equates to productivity, because if we can learn to be more if we can learn to be more productive, then all of a sudden a lot more becomes possible for us, right? Because it makes all the sense in the world that we put off so much important things in our lives because we feel like we don't have enough time. It just makes sense. You are busy. You do have a lot going on. And there isn't time for everything. You are absolutely correct. You can't do everything. And I'm passionate, though, to watch people go after what they want in their lives and not put it on the back burner. If not now, when is a great thing to remember, right? Like, what are you really waiting on, and what's really keeping you from going? Well, time might be one of them. Like feeling like you don't have time. That's fair. But what if there was a different approach? What if you could get there way faster and with much less effort than you thought? That is what this is all about. And so over the last several weeks, I've been doing a video series on how you can be more productive. So that means getting further along towards your goals, which with much less effort and much less overwhelm. That's what we've been talking about. Today is the third video, so if you missed the prior videos, after watching this one, go back and watch those because there's some great tips in there for you to implement to be more productive and less overwhelmed. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Zach. I'm with Create Purpose Coaching. I'm a performance and leadership coach. I work with a lot of leaders, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and really anyone who desires to live a high-performance life. I love working with go-getters, people that have a lot of gas in the tank, and they really want to take massive action, and they just want to see themselves create the results they deeply want to see in their lives. And that's the whole impotence behind coaching, is helping an individual get from point A to point B in the most sustainable way possible, so that they can actually realize the results that they desire. So back to productivity. So over the last several weeks, we've covered several things. We've covered this idea that you need to have your own personal inbox, and that's not your email. It's a personal inbox that only you can put things on. It's a collection of your most important things that you want to address. Or also, you have a parking lot, right? If it doesn't fit, you put it on the parking lot, and you're totally cool with that. And then the next video we put together is how can you be more focused? What does focus really mean? And how do you get more focused so that you can bring the energy to what you're doing? In today's video, I'm going to introduce to you a key element that is so important. And if you don't do this, you might be stuck running on a hamster wheel and not even know it. I'm not kidding, because if you don't do this one thing, at least on a weekly basis, it's a high likelihood that you're going to get to a certain point in time and look back and be like, oh man, I did not get accomplished what I wanted to get accomplished. What just happened? Where did the time go? I don't have any time, right? And so this is the one thing that does take time, but it's the best use of your time, because productivity is all about how do we do the minimum to get the maximum. Fair? Well, this is one of the minimums that if you don't do, it's going to be very difficult to make the meaningful progress that you want to make. So, what is it? It's your weekly review. Yes, a weekly review. What is a weekly review? It's a time that you set aside. My recommendation is set aside an hour. That'd be a great start. But if an hour feels like too much, at least 30 minutes. But let's try to start with an hour. Set aside an hour. And this needs to be an hour of complete solitude, quiet time for you, my friend, nobody else. It's your time. And so personally, I have a young family, have a lot going on. For me, Sunday mornings are my day. I get up early, I make some coffee. I really look forward to my Sunday morning weekly review because I'm going to show you why in a moment. Why? Once you see it, it's going to make all the sense. You're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to be doing that. But before I get into what I do in a weekly review and what I recommend you do for a weekly review, I want to quickly highlight what it's not. Because I, for the longest time, did a weekly review. But it was just feeding the do more to be more trap. And let me tell you what I meant. So what a weekly review is not. It is not the time that you clean out your inbox, your email inbox. It's not even the time that you clean out your personal inbox that we talked about in a previous video. It is not a time to clean out your purse. Your weekly review is not the time to clean out your purse. I don't have a purse, by the way, but I have a bag that usually gets full of business cards and stuff from the week. I have notebooks full of notes. There's a lot of unpacking of the week that should happen. I don't like that word should. That's beneficial for you to do, right? Because it's good to unpack, decompress, get it all in its proper place so that you can go fresh into the new week. But I'm suggesting you don't do that during your weekly review because I want you to get in a very creative mindset when you get into your weekly review. I want you to think big picture and I want you to zoom out and see all that's happening and be able to really evaluate, is this what is most important right now, so that you can re-enlist your actions and reprioritize, right? All those things. And so when you get into the filing cabinet mode, right, and you're filing your email, this is where I made a mistake. As my weekly review, it was an hour and a half. I would clean out my inbox. I would pull out my notebooks and grab all my action items and get them all in my inbox, right? I would clean out my email inbox, and then I would clean out my personal inbox and make sure I prioritize those things. I would go through my paperwork and make sure everything was filed. And then before I knew it, just cleaning out my inbox sometimes took an hour, okay? So my weekly review was my weekly get my email clean. Like, it was kind of nice, but that, my friend, doesn't move the ball down the field because we've established in a previous video what our email actually is. Yeah? And so if you want to know, go check out the video. But so what it's not an opportunity to clean out your purse or your man purse or whatever. It's not an opportunity to do that. That is not what you should be doing during your weekly review. That's just my opinion. Now, if that's what you think is most beneficial for that time, then great. But I'm telling you, I've been there. I've done that. I used that time to clean the house and make sure everything was in its proper place. I did it every week, and I still wasn't any further along towards my goals. Because you're in a very reactive state when you're doing a weekly review, weekly cleanup. Separate your weekly review from your weekly cleanup. There's a quotable. Separate your weekly review from your weekly cleanup. And let me get into why. So let's talk about the weekly review. There's 3 things that I do in my weekly review, and I find it extremely beneficial for me because we've established in previous videos, focus is so important, right? You've got your one thing that you're running at. You got that big thing that, gosh, if I get that done, everything else is easier or not even needed. So I know what I'm out there trying to get done right now. I'm clear on that, right? You're clear on that. Now, and you know that your 5 needle movers. You know that these are the 5 things that I'm going to do day in, day out that's going to get me that one thing. And yet we still go through our week and we get hit with everybody else's agenda. Our email inbox is filled up. We have all this stuff, right? So it makes sense that it's easy to get overwhelmed, right? And so this is an opportunity to first, in your weekly review, is to reflect. You have an opportunity to reflect in your weekly review. And I like to use an opportunity to pause and look back on the week. And I've got a series of questions that I prompt myself to answer. And I'm thinking about putting together something for you, like a checklist or something, and share those with you. And so the first few questions I do to reflect on is, I just look back on the week and I'm kind of thinking to myself, what did I do to move things forward? how aligned was I with my one thing and my 5 needle movers, right? How aligned was I? Did I spend my time on what mattered last week? And if not, what became the distractions? And I'll think through, wow, yeah, that's happened 3 weeks in a row now. And I start thinking about, well, what can I do to maybe delegate that, or to stop doing it completely, or get out from under it completely? But I start to highlight, ooh, that keeps happening, and it's that urgent, important thing that probably doesn't need to be done by myself. So what can I do to reallocate that time, or can I automate it or do something? So I'll catch those things that are distractions. I'll also reflect on my energy. How was my energy this past week? What were the feelings that I experienced a lot this week? Was it fear and frustration and overwhelm and stress? Because I know if those are the things that I felt most of last week, then I am not on a sustainable path, and I need to make some adjustments. You cannot go through every week stressed, under tons of pressure, feeling overwhelmed, and feeling fearful that the outcomes aren't going to be what you hope they are. I mean, that is no place to be. And so sometimes I've been there, though, and I got to feel like, ooh, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? And so that's an opportunity to reflect on that, just my energy. How am I feeling? And then it's an opportunity of, how do I want to feel? How do I create those feelings, right? What is it that I'm going to do differently this week to maybe create a little bit more mental space for myself? I also reflect on things like my values and some key areas in my life, like my health, my family, my faith, my finances. I kind of have some buckets that I look at, and I just kind of say, I give myself a score, 1 to 10. How am I doing? I'll ask myself, how am I doing in those areas? I'll score myself 1 through 10. And if it's lower than I like, I might make some notes, like, you know what? Health, not so good. Been traveling a lot, eating a lot of crap type food, a lot of burgers and fries. I need to change that. Salad for lunch next week, right? I'll make a note. Or, you know what? No workouts. I didn't exercise at all. I'm going to prioritize 3 workouts next week. So it's a way to readjust your life on the fly every week, because we talk about work-life balance, which is a myth, by the way. But I do think you can make adjustments to stay as true north as possible every week. And that's what I do on the weekly review, is an opportunity to reflect on, how off kilter am I, and where do I need to get back to center, and what's an action plan for that? And reflecting on just how am I doing. It's a way to check in with me. And then the last thing I'll reflect on is, I look at my board. I have a board in my office that clearly spells out what I want to get done this month. And I look at it and I'm like, how am I making progress? Am I on track? Am I moving the needle? Am I doing what I need to do that I said I would do? And is it aligned with my big 5 and my one thing? And if it's not, I make the adjustments. And that brings us to the second point, is after I reflect, I regroup. So I take those reflections and I regroup. Okay, yeah, this is really working for me right here. I need to do more of that next week. You know what? This is not working for me. That's been a flat out distraction. Or, wow, I really wasted some time on Wednesday. I need to get that corrected. And I regroup and I put an action plan in place. It's just an opportunity to reflect and then regroup and create a intention for how you want to move forward in the following week. How are you going to get back to center and realign and move towards that one thing that you're chasing and you're accomplishing? And the last thing that I'll do after I regroup, because you reflect, you regroup, and part of regrouping is reprioritizing and just making sure that this is what I want to get accomplished next week. These are the big 5, and this is the plan. This is what I'm going to do, and make sure I prioritize those consistent actions that I said I'm going to take. The last piece is I re-energize. I give myself the opportunity to build back into my calendar those important things. I go ahead and block off my workouts for the week. My calendar, maybe like yours, is just so fluid. It's like one week I'm in the office every day, one week I'm traveling 3 days out of the week. So it's really hard to get any type of rhythm. So I use my weekly review to, part of the reflect, regroup, is I find some re-energizing experience from just getting the opportunity to prioritize what I want to do, those things that matter to me, that I know that when I do them, I'm my best. I know that if I work out on a consistent basis, I'm going to be able to bring more energy and be more present and be more engaged. So I need to prioritize that. So I literally put it on my calendar when it works on that given week. And so that's some of the stuff I do to re-energize. I set some intentions around my family and my self-care and some things that I want to do this next week to just keep my heart engaged, to keep the meaning and purpose alive in what I'm doing so that I don't get caught up in the whirlwind, and I'm going to be very intentional. And those things are very re-energizing when you do them, correct? And you know what? Sometimes for the re-energizing, I have a gratitude list. I reflect on what I'm thankful for, like all the things that have happened to me, just things I'm grateful for. I'm passionate about helping others maximize who they are. I just am. I can't even say why it's so such a topic for me, but I'm just passionate about, one, growing myself, but then helping others grow and maximizing who I am and who you are and accomplishing what you want. And part of that is re-energizing. And you know, sometimes you can question your mission. You sometimes question, God, am I really doing what matters? Am I really having an impact? Right? Am I silly to even be pursuing this? I have those questions, and I'm sure we all do. It's normal to kind of get into your own head a little bit and questioning, like, why am I putting so much effort and energy into this? It's a great question to ask. Answer it. And I do. Part of my re-energizing is sometimes when I do find myself lacking some energy, I know for me to get re-energized, I have a box in my office, and through the years, and this isn't, I don't want this to come across like braggadocious or anything, but I've had some people that have written me notes, they've wrote emails, they've just said some very kind things about the impact that I've had on them. And when I read those things, there's sometimes, I'm sure you have it, you tear up a little bit, you're like, wow, you're put back in your seat. And I find that very energizing. And so what is your thing? What is it that you have that you can pull out when you really need some fuel? That it's almost guaranteed that if you start reading the words that someone wrote you, I've got some love letters in there from my wife from before we were married, you know, like who she saw me as, and you know, all this stuff, right? And it's really meaningful to have those things to reflect on and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's who I am. That's what I'm about. See here's proof. I wanted some proof that is what I'm doing matter. Here it is, right here. It's right in front of me. Boom. I'm back at it, right? I'm back. I'm re-energized. I'm ready to go act on the plan that I just created. And so that is my weekly review. I reflect, I regroup, and I re-energize. It's not a time to clean out my purse, my man purse. It's not a time to clean my email inbox. I've made that mistake, been there, done that, not doing it anymore. That is not productive. What's productive is making sure that I stay centered to who I desire to be, my values, my purpose, my mission, and continue to come back to it and remind myself, why do I do what I do? Why do you do what you do? What's the impact you're having in the actions you take every week? And it's a powerful thing to connect the two. It's very powerful to connect the two. So I hope you enjoyed this video training. I did. I mean, this is probably one of the favorite ones I've done because I'm talking to you about something that's made a huge turn of events in my life. Is when I put that weekly review in practice, I don't know, things just got more clear. And overwhelm just stopped happening because I guess I really used that time to get prioritized on, no, I set my intentions. I think there's a lot of power in setting the intentions, and you do that in a weekly review. You reflect, you regroup, and you re-energize, and you're ready for the week ahead. So I hope you love this. Drop me a comment in below. I'd love to hear, like, what's your weekly review? Do you have one? What do you do? Yeah, I'd love to hear it. So stay tuned. We've got one more video left in this series, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So I'll see you in the next video.